All right, folks, in this episode, we're going to talk about why manufacturing conversations seem harder than they should be. And this is, I think, really where we're really going to start to shine on how we met, why we're doing what we're doing. So 6 years ago, I was tasked, and preface, I got hired into the company to do media and make the videos and stuff like that, but I was also the one that traveled a lot. And I was kind of boots on the ground.
Pretty small crew at that point.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 of us in the company. Company had been established 3 or 4 years, but everybody did everything at that point. I liked to be on the road, and I had also had manufacturing experience from some of my previous jobs, a lot of lumber mills, a lot of plywood factories, fencing company, that kind of thing. So I had been in factories before. So we knew we wanted to get out of overseas, and I was tasked with finding a regional, and by region, we wanted to be within a day's drive of our manufacturer, cut down on manufacturing miles to be able to see the plant. We're a very small company, a family-run company, very relationship building. And I visited, I don't know, I can't really remember how many, but at least 6 other molders before I came up and met you and pretty much immediately sealed the deal.
Yeah.
And so the conversations, I said all that to be like, I did not go to school for injection molding. I couldn't have told you how anything was made at the time other than I knew a mold had to be made, but I didn't know what that meant, and I certainly didn't understand the whole process. And so as we went and talked to folks, I learned very quickly that when we first started the company, and I wasn't here at this point, but from stories of the folklore of what I heard was nobody wanted to work with a U.S. company from a U.S. manufacturing standpoint because we were unheard of. We didn't have any processes. We didn't have a warehouse. We were brand new. We didn't know anything. They didn't want to take time out to educate us. Thus, the original founder went overseas.
I'm kind of going through this right now. I'm trying to add a couple suppliers, and I've noticed the same thing. And not to talk bad about a generation, but when you talk to guys that are on the older side of this that have been doing it for 30, 40 years, you just don't have that energy. It can feel like they're just not interested. They don't.
They're not.
Could be they're not. It could be they don't want to deal with it. But we're kind of talking off camera about like a dismissive behavior, and I've kind of gone through that myself. I've got a lot of business to place with molders, and I'm trying to outreach just a little bit to grow my regional footprint. And I get the same thing. So don't get discouraged if you do feel that way. But I will say, move on.
You got to trust your gut. That's why we're together, is because I remember very specifically, and you'll know the story, but I visited somebody. There were 2 hours from where we're homed, and had our warehouse, and still have our warehouse. And we went, and it was a nice mix of, we weren't too big and we weren't too small. We were a middle-sized company at that point, looking for a middle-sized molder. And proximity was great. 2 hours away, are you kidding me? That's fantastic. The facilities were clean. The people seemed happy to be there. Everything was nice. And we set this whole conversation up with like we want to move everything to the U.S. based, for a host of reasons, but it's in general the right thing to do. And mind you, we're in Texas, we're very patriotic state kind of thing. And I went and I sat down in this guy's office, and he says, I just don't understand why you would want to move out of China.
Yeah.
And I just ended the conversation because I knew that wasn't going to be a good fit. To be so, hey, these people are going to come visit us. They want to move out of China. They're basically our neighbors in the same state. They already have a great business. We got room for them. Everything was a check. But to have that fundamental misunderstanding of why, sure, they're going to be a little bit more expensive. But as we talked about in some of the previous episodes, and which I'm sure we're going to talk a lot more about, there's more than just that part bottom line cost to what we're doing. But visiting all these other different manufacturers, I was having to learn things new and understand their process and understand we're not their only client and understand they have long-term clients that are always going to get preferential treatment as far as time on the machine. And, hey, if somebody's going to have to work a Saturday, it's not going to be for us.
Right.
Kind of thing. And some factories closed down at night and some ran 24/7 and some closed down on the weekends and some were variable. And they all had their own different seasonalities. Those people were, their primary business was making coat hangers for big box stores. So they had a nice base thing going on. And they also did some really neat color stuff that we were interested in, swirls and things like that we eventually got into. But I learned a lot that trip, but it was another manufacturer that, again, it was not a good size fit. It wasn't a good personality fit. And although I was learning stuff, I never really felt like I was finding a partner.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted. We wanted a partner in manufacturing.
It's 100% gut feel on that first one. And if you don't get the time of day, if you're just going through quoting phases with molders or manufacturers, if you feel like you're not getting, it's dating. Like, let's be honest, it's literally dating. That's what it's like. So that first, call it 6 months of the courting phase, if you're not feeling like you're getting that attention, it's not going to get any better.
Well, from your side and a no fault view of it, why would somebody that's first coming on feel like they're being invasive or they're not wanting to cut? He's not texting me the next day. I mean, what happens on your side that would make that not possible?
To not get back to him? There's no reason. I wouldn't have a reason.
Okay, you don't. But other people that...
Maybe they're busy.
There you go.
To get an email back, that's nuts. No, that's not an excuse.
But it happens, man. Look, that's
I know it
that's
happens.
what
I've missed emails too. I get it. I've missed emails. I've not followed up on stuff. It happens. Everybody does it, but you should be able to pick it back up and keep rolling. But if you're not getting that, move on to the next one. And I've no quoted stuff before, but I always give a reference of another molder that might make sense. Maybe it's not a good fit for me. Maybe you're not quite there on volume, and I'm just not going to be competitive. There's people out there that are cost competitive for lower volume stuff. We're not. The people I deal with are not low volume molders. So
I also want to give the example, and we've hit on this a little bit, but some factories specialize in certain industries, or they're more apt to help a certain industry, and that's especially true for like food service, NSF, medical grade type equipment. Automotive is a little bit different spec. How about, and I could be wrong on this, but how about non-food service airplane parts are going to...
Aerospace?
Yeah. So...
Well, then you got your down and dirty molders that just, like, they're going to be really competitive, but you better have the volume, and...
Like co-hangers.
May not be the best quality all the time. I don't know. I'm not going to speak on their behalf, but yeah, you're going to have those, and you should be able to sniff those out pretty quick. I mean, just go look at their website. Molders are not, I should sidebar this, manufacturers are not known for their website and IT capabilities, so don't get on their website and just be like, you need to go talk to them. So I've worked with some molders and manufacturers that I'm like, man, are they still in business? I mean, the first molder I was employed with right out of college, their website, this was in 14, their website was built in like 99. When I got there, it was still like
everything's in a square matrix.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. It looks like the old MySpace stuff. Or Zanga, you remember that one?
I was probably too old for Zanga.
Yeah.
Thanks, though.
Sorry.
Let's see if you think the same way on something. So we're talking about having conversations with suppliers, injection molders in particular. there's a lot of acronyms, there's a lot of industry stuff that you'd be able to just throw off your tongue, and if you're just learning, it takes a minute to pick up. In a whole nother life, long ago in a galaxy far away, I was part of this. I used to work at a big box hardware store, one of the big ones, and where I worked for both of them at one point. But I was part of a team that went around to one of the metroplexes and did inventory at different stores. And I always thought it was neat that, like, and funny that my home store, you had the paint guy, you had the hardware guy, you had the plumber guy, the electrician, the lumber folks, and everything. And as I would go to different stores, it was the same guy, just with it was a different name, a different face, but it was the same guy. The guy in paint was the guy in paint. And I noticed over the years, working in and out of the trades, both doing the job in the field and working on the supply side and on the supplying the store side, that, man, these people just drifted into where they were supposed to be in life. And I will say that I have found the injection molders
Very similar.
They're a certain type of personality type. I would like for you to describe the personality type of an injection molder.
I will not do that.
Oh man.
No, it's tool builders, man. That's the. I got to be careful, but no.
You're all tired.
We're all tired. It's what we live. Like, that's all we know.
I will say that one trait is all of you are like, yes, no problem. But you're dealing with, like, these people's life and death, their baby project, and either it's like,
we'll figure it out.
We can't do that, or yeah, sure, no problem. But it's this huge problem of all this crap that we got to go through for months on end. But it is no problem. But you guys are so used to that
chaos,
long time span of, we know we can get this part made, and we know inherently in 2 seconds this months and months of things that have to happen. But yes, it can get done. But what that person is really asking, can this get done in the next 6 months? The answer is no.
Yeah, it's just controlled chaos is all it is. I've become numb to it. I think that's your point, is most everybody that's in the industry is just numb to that. We're numb to bad news.
Sure.
Because it's all bad news to somebody.
It's all on the global scale. You guys are having to keep up with so much stuff.
Yeah.
You have a group of people that's the backbone of American manufacturing. They're coming in and doing the same thing day and night. It doesn't matter the way. Their whole life is walking in and around these injection molding machines, moving parts that it could be, again, it's somebody's baby over here, and then they walk over to a different machine and run quality control over here for a few minutes. It's a different person's baby over here. They're meeting their spec sheets. They're viewing it differently than how you would view it and how the customer would view it. They're still getting the job done, but it's a certain monotony that, look, quite frankly, attracts a certain type of worker.
Yeah. You got to keep them happy too and keep it lively somehow. It's tough.
Yeah.
That's probably the most difficult part of manufacturing, is just keeping workers engaged, because it's so easy to let things slip through the cracks. So
there's a hum in a factory that is a little mind-numbing, like because I'm in media and because we're in factories shooting our stuff, man, at the end of the day, it's just this constant hum in the background of machines. And
you hear it when you go to bed.
Yeah.
I like it.
Do you guys, so as an I think during the course of this podcast, it's going to come out I've had every job in the world. I was a waiter for 4 years, and to this day, I have that waiter dream, and where the whole restaurant, I'm the only waiter. I get set everybody at once. Every wait person has had this dream, and so for injection molders, I would imagine it's something very similar.
We lived it through COVID. Yeah. I mean, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong during COVID, and so we lived that dream.
That's why we're still so tired. Is we haven't slept since COVID yet.
No, it's chaotic every time you turn around. Like, something, you're relying on so many different people, suppliers, people to show up that day for work, designers, you name it. You probably, if I laid out a graph probably have like 10 different people that are all doing something to make this work. And if one of them drops the ball, then it pushes that timeline back or it doesn't happen. So, yeah, man, it's just constantly following up and getting a phone call that, hey, we're going to be 2 weeks late, and I got to come to you and tell you.
Earlier in the podcast, we talked about how, these conversations seem real difficult, and that sometimes it could feel like the manufacturer's doing pushback. And that may be questions like, there's nothing that we haven't covered here yet, but it's like, what's your tolerance? What's your volumes? Like, it could feel at some point, you've answered this a million times, but then here we go back to, okay, what are your volumes like now? Because it's a variable number. From the time you start this process to the first PO, your estimated volumes are going to change.
Yeah, and just a quick tip, if you are starting to quote out to multiple manufacturers, just put a sheet together. Start grabbing all the questions that you've been asked by all these manufacturers and just put all the answers on one sheet. And so when you go to a new supplier, potentially, you just hand them the sheet. Hey, here's what you need. This has everything you're going to need to quote.
True or false, does that become your spec sheet?
No, it wouldn't be a spec sheet. It would just be kind of a informational sheet for people to be able to quote things quickly.
Let's take a little pause, and why don't you explain what a tech sheet is and how that aligns up with what happens during the run, during quality control.
Yeah, so spec sheet, it would just be 2D print. So, and it'll have all of your information on it that you need, that the manufacturer needs to run to. It'll have all your major dimensions. It'll have any rejected, maybe cosmetics, dimensional, or sometimes they put weight on there if it's over under a certain weight. So basically a cheat sheet for somebody running that part. It's going to have a picture of the product, it's going to have the color, it's going to have all of your dimensions on it. And so whoever's running it will just check those once an hour, make sure that they're hitting all the dimensional criteria.
Yeah, and I really want people to hear that, is that part of the process is not the people pulling the product off the line and putting it in a box, but somebody specifically going around, pulling a random part out, measuring it, checking it, putting it up against a color grid, making sure that everything was in an acceptable tolerance, plus or minus, and there's always a plus or minus, returning that back in, checking it off, saying, yeah, the machine is calibrated.
Machine's still running.
They put the right color in for this PO.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get the wrong box of color.
Never had that happen.
I want to make sure that people understand, if a molder is asking questions and it seems like it's more than once, it's to make sure that everything is crystal clear, and that
it might be a really important part to have a quote completed. So if they reiterate and re-ask something, it's probably important that you answer that correctly. So I could see that being annoying, but at the same time, just answer.
Right.
Or ask, hey, why? I've answered this already. Why do you need to know this? And they'll tell you.
So we don't miss timelines. So we make sure that we have the right part.
Yeah. Yeah. Or are you sure that you want this to be this color? Because if you go with this color, it's going to be a completely different price for you.
So again, I'll go back to, if you're just getting into this, you're entering a whole new world that you're not used to. And the language barrier is not in the actual physical language, but it's in the technicalities of that particular industry. And injection molding, again, has a lot of acronyms. It has a lot of shorthand.
Yeah.
It's never, I don't feel like, well, I know for you in particular, I've never felt like I couldn't stop and say, hey, explain a short shot to me. Or being there in the factory, if you're so lucky, and seeing a part that's not made incorrectly, but had a a malfunction of some type. And what's this? That's the short shot. That's why this is why this happens. You know, the gate closed too early. What's a gate? What's a gate point? It all starts leading into then you start getting an understanding, which I would think it goes into V2, V3, or your next product. Yeah. Understanding a little bit more about how that works. So
what are these weird circles all over my part?
Yeah.
Ejector pins.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't talk about that if it's. I mean, I try to let my customers know that there's going to be ejector pins in certain areas. And I ask, is that going to be a problem? But I've had parts where I don't even discuss it because I know it's not going to be a cosmetic part. You're going to have ejector pins, and sometimes it comes up after the fact. But yeah, there's a lot of technicality, a lot of jargon. I mean, it took me a year to really understand it. I'm pretty sure what was the term? I kept throwing PPM around probably for the first year and a half of my working life. I never asked what the hell does this mean? And finally I asked one of the engineers, I kind of sidebar, I was like, hey, what is PPM? And he just looks at me and goes, are you serious? He goes, you've been working here for a year and a half and you don't know what PPM means? It's like, what is it? He goes, parts per million. Okay, could have just said that. I'm not saving that much time, but yeah. I mean, even for people that are in the industry, I still hear terms every once in a while. It's like talking to a military guy.
Well, and I would imagine when you're dealing with the designers or the CAD guy,
totally. You talk totally different.
Engineers, forget about it.
Yeah, you talk totally different to those guys than I would my customer. You know, you try to talk to a customer like a regular person, so you're not just totally blowing them out of the water. I will say, if somebody comes to you and just starts giving you all kinds of acronyms, stop them. Ask them, and if they continue to do it, they're probably trying to talk over your head.
We have another project in which I've been working on with you in particular, and one of the things you said in there was like, you like to tell people, I don't know what you don't know. I'm gonna talk to you on a very basic level. Tell me if I'm talking underneath you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's usually how I start my conversations. Please tell me if I'm either talking way too technical and you need me to dumb it down, or if I'm giving you a lot of basics that you already know, tell me to shut up and just be like, hey, I know all this stuff. Just talk to me like a molder. Because there's a big window there of how I can talk, and I don't want to have that conversation 3 times over if you have no idea what I'm talking about. So I'd rather talk to you like a 2-year-old trying to learn this rather than saying it 5 times over.
I was an outsider in a group of buddies that all worked at one of the factories here in the town that we're in, and they kept going on and on about their own jargon, right? And they kept talking about these KDFs. KDF this, KDF that, and there was a buddy of mine that we were outsiders with this group, and
is she blonde?
No.
Is it KDF?
No, it's KDF.
Okay.
I was like, what the hell is KDF? They're like a knockdown flat. What's a knockdown flat? You know, the cardboard, the corrugated cardboard. It is a box.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't you just call it a box? Well, we had somebody come in the factory and they put acronyms for everything, so box became knockdown flat. We're like, you understand that takes a lot longer to say KDF than does box.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just the way it is.
Yeah. Actually, when I said military, my brother-in-law's in the Army now, and after basic, I got a little taste of my own medicine because, man, they hammer that in your head quick. And so when I was talking to him, I had to stop him like every other sentence and just be like, hey, you got to stop with the acronyms for a while. Like, say the acronym, say what it means, because I have no idea what you're talking about, dude. You could be talking about alien motherships right now for all I know.
Probably are.
I wish. I hope.
Let's wrap this one up. So friction in manufacturing conversations are usually informative and not personal.
Definitely not personal. Completely opposite of personal. Whatever opposite of personal is what it is.
Yeah, because again, you guys are busy. You're dealing with multiple clients. You're dealing with a factory full of workers, 24 suppliers, way too many logistics people trying to ship stuff in and out. You guys are busy folks, and it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. So, yeah, the conversations I could see being a little less fluffy and more direct and to the point. Yeah. It's just to get information passed. Better questions, create better partnerships.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's to reiterate to make sure that your baby is well taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully they have a salesman. The salesman's really supposed to be the translator for the engineers to you, because it is a different language. So it's hopefully you've got somebody good in there that can fluff it up a little bit and just talk about it.
Or at least understand the individual dynamics of that particular person making this part.
Yeah, and I don't expect you to know all this stuff. That's why we're here. That's why you're good at that. I'm good at this. Let's make this as seamless as possible and get it done.
And clarity in the beginning is going to just do nothing but reduce any downstream problems and wind up costing you a whole lot less money.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the next episode, we're going to be talking about feedback and why that should not feel personal, especially in the early phases. We'll see you in the next one.